Hello, everyone. Welcome to Leadership Live. I'm Audrey Faust, and I'm here today with Louise, and we are going to talk about how to free up time and value your time, as well as grow your business. Hold on, we're getting an error on having trouble on LinkedIn. So hold on, let me make sure we're live. Apologies, let me just make sure we're live.
I think we are, Audrey. Mine's okay.
Okay, great, perfect. Sorry about that. So Louise and we actually know each other because we're both certified neuro-coaches. And through that program, it basically taught us a lot about the brain science behind what we do, how we act. And through that program, we've learned a lot about lots of things, right? But today we're going to, as I said, today we're going to talk about how to free up your time and value your time and grow your business. So I'm going to let Louise introduce herself and say a few things about herself. Welcome, Louise.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. So for those of you across the pond, I am Louise and I'm actually based in the UK. And I'm a leadership and success coach who helps entrepreneurs and business leaders succeed at work and at home at the same time. And for me, success means different things to different people. And it can also change throughout your life. So I love to help people define their own version of success. And that would then enable them to reach their potential and achieve their vision. So as Audrey said, I do this through my knowledge of brain science, which I absolutely love. Over the last year, I've developed a real passion for personal development and how the mind works. And I use that knowledge, and it's all around neuroplasticity and literally rewiring our brains to work for us instead of against us. So that's a bit about me.
That's a great explanation, great introduction. So thank you, Louise. And today, as I said, we're going to talk about how we can improve our time, right? Free up time. So Louise, I know we've talked about this before, and I'd like you to share with the group or with everyone here live, or if you're watching the replay. If you're watching the replay, #replay, let me know. Do you find a to-do list helpful? And why or why not?
Well, I used to find a to-do list helpful. But since doing the work over the last year, I have changed my perception of what a to-do list is. So to me, a to-do list is a whole list of things everything that you brain dump onto a list. So it's all the rubbish that you have to do during the day is on the list and you get to tick it off. So to me, that's what a to-do list is. If you do that, that keeps you stuck in the detail. Ooh. And you're therefore unable to focus on the bigger picture. So it keeps you working in the business as opposed to working on the business. And I think that is the big difference between what I'm going to suggest you do and a to-do list. So just to give you a little bit of my own story. So I used to love a to-do list. I love organization. I love writing everything down, ticking it all off. And I used to even add things after I'd completed the task just to tick it off, to get those endorphins going. Yeah. I just used to love that buzz of going, oh, well, I've done this. And it looked great at the end of the day when I could see all those ticks. But what I've given it a lot of thought, as I said, over the last year, and now I look at it differently and approach it differently. So I look at what actually can be delegated, what of those lists can be taken off or switched to another day, because I started valuing my time and I needed that mental space to work on things that added significant value to my business. And that was the difference. So rather than having a to-do list, it's what I call a priority list. So I have I have 2 to 3 things that I like to get done every single day. And those 2 to 3 things are things that are actually enabling me to work towards my bigger vision and my goals. So that at the end of the day, it's manageable, and I have a look and I think, do you know what? I've done 2 to 3 things that's helping me move forward.
That's great. I love that. A priority list. So
yeah,
throw out the to-do list and get a priority list. That's great. That's great advice.
Yeah. Brilliant. Okay. So I've got a question for you then. What advice do you give your clients on delegating? So I mentioned delegating.
Yeah, that's a great.
Yeah. So what advice do you give your clients on that?
Well, I work with like 7 and 8 figure CEO businesses and their team. And I find that what they struggle with most is delegating. A lot of them, especially the 7-figure ones, are businesses that have grown into that 7 figures. And like when they started, they were used to doing everything themselves. So they know how to do it. They know, they do all the things and around their business. At one point, it was just them, or they had a very small team. So delegating is something they have to learn. So, and just keep remembering, right? So what I like to tell my clients, the first little trick that I tell them to use that seems to work well. And I love, like, when you said about the to-do list, I love how you said, what can you delegate on that to-do list? Or the priority list, excuse me. If there's anything you can delegate on there, write their name next to it. I love that. But what I like to have them do is take a little Post-it note and write on there, who can I delegate this to, and stick it somewhere where they're going to see it all the time. Because sometimes you're used to just doing it, right? And when you're stuck, as you said, in the to-dos, like you're not growing your business by doing that, right? You're not growing your business. When you have a team, like, that's what they're there for. They're there to help you. And sometimes you just forget, right? You just forget that you can delegate. So having that little Post-it right where you can see it, it's going to say, hey, I could just give this to somebody else. And probably 5% of your tasks you can give to somebody else and delegate to somebody else. So, so that's the first thing. Go ahead.
No, go on. I was just going to say, why do you think some business leaders find that difficult to do, the delegation?
Yeah, so I was going to get into it. So it's around control, right? They're afraid, or either it's like quicker and easier for them to do it themselves, the fear that their staff members. So I've coached managers. We're like, well, they're newer managers and they're afraid to delegate because they think their staff's going to push back on them, right? I've coached some new managers that are learning to do that too, where they think, well, my staff may think this is my job. Well, your staff, it works for you. And whatever you tell them to do is their job. That's the way I look at it. And the control factor also. So, like, letting go of control. And, in my other business, it's a CFO business, like, that's letting go of control of your money is like one of the hugest things for business owners to let go of. And I get it. It's the money, it's a business. But once they do, they can't ever think about going back, right? I was just talking to one of my CFO clients yesterday, and he was like, do you remember when I used to like do a lot of this myself like 2 years ago? And I was like, yeah. And he goes, I don't know what I was doing. Like what, like I can never go back now. So once you let go of that control, you get to see the other side, and you get to focus on the things that are important that you like doing, or
Yeah.
that are important to move your business. So
I
and
think
it's
that's,
hard to let go of control, right?
it is. And I think, I agree with you 100%. I think it's that control element. And also, if it's their business or their department, I think there's an element of feeling like it can't be done any better by anyone else than them.
Yeah.
But it's actually, let's look at it and reframe it, as we know, Audrey, through our neuroscience.
Yeah.
What we know about neuroscience, it's actually reframing it, and it's looking at what are those tasks that I actually don't necessarily want to do, or it's not my talent, it's not my area of expertise. Delegate that, which will then enable them to focus on their strengths, their abilities, and, as you said, moving towards that vision.
Yeah, absolutely. There. And then you will find, like I do, is once you delegate that, if you have to go, let's say your team member's on vacation and you have to go back into that, they now do it better, they now do it quicker, and they now do it, and you're like, and then you realize, like, oh my God, I hate doing that. So you get to see the other side if you ever have to like take it back for a short-term basis. And you're like, so delegation is very freeing. So let's start talking a little bit about time, Louise. Like, how do you leverage the time that you have to get everything done?
Okay, so this is something that I have developed over the last kind of 3 or 4 years, and it takes practice. But what I do is, so those 2 to 3 things on your priority list that we've spoken about, do those at a time when you can focus and when you're the most energized. So it's taken me, as I said, a few years to actually become more attuned to when I'm more energized and when I'm not. And it was becoming aware of, as simple as becoming aware of my energy, and when I am most energetic, when I can concentrate. So for me, it's in the morning, it's early morning. So what I do is I take those 2 to 3 things every day, and I set aside some time where I can concentrate, and for an hour or 2 in the morning when I'm most energized, I do those priority tasks then. And I find doing that, I get things done so much more quickly because I'm focused and it's at a time that suits me.
And how do you prevent distractions during that time?
So that's a very good question, because I've got a young family as well. So I make sure that I when I plot my 1 to 2 hours a day, it's at a time when they're occupied or they're at school, and it's a matter of turning my phone on do not disturb.
Oh, that's great.
So that then you're not getting disturbed by messages or emails, and you can focus. So it's setting those boundaries, and to me that's key. And then I also, so you do those 2 to 3 important tasks, and then what I do is all the other tasks that are maybe administrative or not as important, I then do that at a time or day when I'm not at my most creative or energized. So I shift those things to either a different time of the day. So it could be later on in the afternoon when I'm a bit more tired, but I can do some emails. Or I also I look at my whole week and I think, okay, on a Friday, I can do the admin tasks, so that at the beginning of the week, when I'm most refreshed, I get the creative kind of focus task done.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah, so that's what I do. Okay, so the question I've got for you is, what advice do you give your clients on valuing their time?
Yes. Time is money, right? Like we've always heard that. But you know what a lot of people do is they don't realize their value, right? So, especially CEOs that I work with, and even their managers and their team members. So, focus on the 5%, right? Focus on the 5% of things that are going to move the needle forward if you're a CEO. Um, as I talked about before, like delegate everything else. And if it's not going to move the needle forward in your business, should you really be the one doing it? Ask that question, right? And realistically, there's like 5% of tasks or things that you should, as a CEO, that you should be doing to move the needle forward. And that's what you have a team for. So use them. And, you know, when it comes to CEOs or owners of the company, sometimes they undervalue their time, right? But here's what I like to kind of put in their brains. If you were to go work, they're like, well, you know, my time is free. Well, your time is not free, right? But if you were to go, so I asked them, if you were to go work for another business doing exactly what you do, let's say somebody hired you to be a CEO of their business, right? And do all the things and be responsible for all the things that you're responsible in your business. Like, what would your time be worth then? What would you say that your salary would be? I mean, is there even a salary big enough? Right? So
That's so good.
yeah. So it's like, you know, a lot of times, sometimes CEOs are like, oh, my time is, you know, it's free, or I can do it quicker. I can do it, you know, the things you need to focus on is the 5% of things that are going to move the needle and grow your business. And everything else is not your problem.
Yeah.
I also talk about, like, it kind of segues me a little bit into not your problem, right? Is I help my clients train their team to come to them with solutions, or I train their team when they don't have time to come to them with solutions rather than problems. So they're like, because a lot of times as CEO, you feel like, well, I'm constantly putting out fires, right? And that's what's taking up a lot of your time when you have a big team. So by simply doing that task, either hiring a coach or a mentor for your team, like, you know, I work with team members. I train all of them to go to their CEO or boss with solutions and not problems. And, you know, that's one of the most powerful things that I do when I'm working with team members.
And that's what a coach is, right? A coach helps an individual or a team member or whoever it might be find the answers themselves, because they know the answers. But sometimes it's just easier to say, I don't know what to do. What's the answer? Rather than actually thinking about, okay, I do know the answer. I just need to find it. And that's exactly what a coach does.
Right. I know. And Louise and I have been trained not to use the I don't know phrase ever, right?
Yeah. And it's hard sometimes, even for us, isn't it? We have to just check on ourselves occasionally.
Yeah.
Because it's just so indoctrinated from childhood.
Absolutely. It's easy to say, I don't know, right? And the mental kickback to that is, what if you did know?
Yeah.
And you and I have both experienced the transformation that happens when you simply ask yourself that one question, right? What if I did know?
Yeah.
Next time you find yourself saying to yourself, I don't know, flip it around and say, well, what if I did know? And see how your brain reacts, right? Your brain just immediately flips that around and starts looking for solutions rather than just like giving up.
Yeah. No, definitely.
And we got a little bit off track there, but
Yeah, but it's all relevant. It's all
yeah.
relevant. That's great.
So, Louise and I, we both have our own coaching businesses around growth and leadership and success. So if you would like to reach out to either one of us, we are available. You can message us on LinkedIn, reach out. I have a PDF that I offer to my clients to help align their team around empowerment, communication, and motivation on how to do those three things with their team. It's a like 1.5 page PDF that gives you some great quick tips that you can implement quickly and like take your team to the next level. Louise, do you have anything you want to share?
Yeah, I mean, I am now certified in DISC, which is, as you are, Audrey, as well, which is a fantastic behavioural analysis tool for leaders and their teams. And it's a very short questionnaire that you complete, and it gives you your preference in terms of how you like to behave at work. And it really is insightful and helps you, first of all, become aware of your behaviors. And also, what I love about it is it helps you become aware of your teammates' behaviors and how, if you want to get the best out of your teammates, how you can adapt your own style to suit their style. So then that will enable them to, well, you'll be able to get the best out of them that way. So I love that tool. So yeah, if anybody would like a DISC analysis, both Audrey and I are accredited, and we'd love to do that with you.
Yeah. I think that's another LinkedIn Live for us where we talk about DISC.
That'd be great.
Sounds great. Well, that's what we got for you today. Thanks so much for joining in. If you have any comments, questions, put them below the video. We'd be happy to answer them. Reach out if you want to just connect with either one of us. We'd love to talk to you. All right, thanks. Thank you. Have a wonderful day. Thanks, Louise. Thanks for coming on.
Bye.